Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wondered what truly happens inside their head when you vanish? I'm not talking about just pulling back a little. I'm talking about disappearing completely, as if you never existed in their world. It's a shock to the system, isn't it? Here's the thing. They've grown comfortable with you being there. They've become accustomed to your presence, your time, and your energy, and they've convinced themselves they can treat you however they want because they thought you'd always stay. You've been the constant in their life, the safety net they could always count on. But what happens when you pull that rug out from under them, when you decide enough is enough? Here's the reality. They've been taking you for granted, expecting you to stick around like a background character in their story. They've never truly needed you. You've just been a given. But that all changes when you vanish. When you stop answering calls, when your presence is suddenly nowhere to be found, that's when they feel it. They won't see it coming, and the impact hits harder than any argument or plea for attention ever could. In that moment, you're no longer just a face in the crowd. You become the mystery they can't solve. And trust me, they'll feel it. The void you leave behind won't be filled by anything else. It will echo in their mind, growing louder with each passing day. Why? Because when you disappear, you shift the balance. Your absence becomes the loudest voice they've ever heard. It forces them to face the cold truth that they took you for granted. They never realized your worth until it was too late, and that realization will sting far more than anything they ever said or did. Now, this isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about showing them that you're not someone they can just take advantage of. You are valuable, and your absence is a wake-up call they can't ignore. Your worth doesn't need to be discovered only in your absence, but sometimes that's the harsh reality they need to grasp. Let me paint a picture for you. You've been giving them your time, your love, your attention, only for them to act distant, distracted, like you're just an option. It hurts, right? But here's the truth bomb. You've been the one putting in all the effort. They've grown comfortable with the idea that you'll always be there. But what happens when you stop giving them that constant supply of attention? That's when the shift happens. They wake up and realize you're gone. The messages stop, the calls stop, and all the attention they took for granted vanishes. That's when they start questioning everything. And you know what? For the first time, they feel the loss of your energy. They realize they need you, and not just when you're available, but because you've always been there. Here's the catch. The more you stay away, the stronger that pull becomes. They start scrambling to fill the gap you left behind, but nothing will satisfy them. They'll crave the very thing they overlooked. So here's my challenge to you. Walk away. Let them experience the silence. Let them feel what it's like to live without your presence in their life. And when they start reaching out, trying to pull you back, you'll know you've flipped the script. You are the one in control now. Drop a comment saying, "I accept the challenge," if you're ready to take back your power and show them just how irreplaceable you really are. Now, let's dive into the 9 things they'll feel when you simply disappear. Trust me, they never saw this coming, and it's going to shake them in ways they didn't expect. Ready for the ride? Let's go. 1. The sting of rejection. When you vanish, what's the first thing they feel? Rejection. But not just any rejection. This is the kind that cuts deep, the kind that stays with them long after you've disappeared. It's a sting that shakes them to their core. They never thought you'd be the one to walk away. They assumed you'd always be there, like a safety net, ready to catch them whenever they needed you. And because of that comfort, they took you for granted. Now, as soon as you pull back, they realize something they never saw coming. They've lost you. At first, they might try to act indifferent, like it doesn't bother them. But deep down, the absence of your presence gnaws at them. They realize they didn't appreciate you while you were there, and that rejection is like a heavy weight on their chest. Whether it's someone you've been trying to attract or someone from your past who's become distant, that feeling of being rejected stings just as hard. They may have played it cool when you were around, but now they feel the emptiness you've left behind, and it cuts them in ways they can't ignore. Picture this. You've been giving them your time, your energy, your love, and all they did was take you for granted. They knew you'd always be there, so they stopped trying. They got comfortable in the idea of you being an option, but when you disappear, they're left scrambling, wondering what went wrong. Suddenly, they see that you were more than just someone they could always rely on. You were someone they should have fought for, and that realization hits hard. It's a rejection they weren't prepared for, and it makes them question everything. Was I too distant? Did I push them too far? Was I blind to what I had? Here's the kicker. You're not there to comfort them, to make them feel better about their mistakes. You've walked away, and now they're left alone to wrestle with their own insecurities, their own doubts. That's when the sting of rejection becomes unbearable. They start to feel the void you left behind and realize just how much they took you for granted. It's not just a feeling of loss, it's the sharp realization that you were more important than they ever acknowledged. And now they might never get you back. Remember this, you're not disappearing to punish them. You're doing it to reclaim your power. It's about showing them that you are not someone to be taken lightly, that your presence is valuable and not to be taken for granted. This rejection, it's not just about them, it's about you stepping into your worth. It's about saying, I'm done chasing someone who couldn't see my value when it was right in front of them. So, I want you to stand tall and repeat after me. I am worthy of more than being an option. I will never chase someone who couldn't see my worth when I was right there. Let that resonate. Because you are more than enough, and now they're going to feel the weight of that absence. Drop a comment below if you're done being the backup plan. If you're ready to stop chasing approval, write, I'm done begging. Let that be your declaration to the world that you've stepped into your power. And trust me, this is just the first punch in their emotional roller coaster. There are 8 more powerful realizations coming their way, and each one will leave them questioning everything they thought they knew. So stick with me. This journey is far from over. 2. The emptiness of missing something. After the sting of rejection comes the feeling that they weren't ready for, the emptiness of missing you. At first, they might try to shake it off, convincing themselves they're fine without you. They'll tell themselves that it's just a phase and that life will go on. But deep down, something is missing, a gaping hole where you used to be, and that void, it's impossible to ignore. When you were in their life, they never truly realized how much you gave. You were a constant, a source of energy, attention, and care. But now, without you, the silence is deafening. They start to feel it more and more each day. The absence of your presence, your laughter, your conversations. It's not just that they miss having someone to talk to, it's that they miss the sense of security and warmth you brought to their world. Imagine trying to attract someone new, putting yourself out there, making the effort to show you're interested, and then nothing. They keep you at arm's length, thinking they have all the time in the world. They didn't see the value you were bringing. Now that you've disappeared, they feel it. The emptiness sets in. Every day without a text or a call from you is like a weight on their chest. It's not something they were prepared for. They'll notice the little things, the spark you brought to their day, the energy you shared, the way things seemed just a little better when you were around. Now, with your absence, those small moments feel hollow, and the realization that they took you for granted starts to eat away at them. In an old relationship, this feeling hits even harder. You were always there, through the good, the bad, the boring, and the beautiful moments. You were the one who held things together when they felt distant, the one who provided stability. But now, that support is gone. They start realizing how much of their world was built around you. The things they used to take for granted, the texts, the shared plans, the little gestures of affection, now only serve as painful reminders of the void you left behind. The emptiness becomes too real to ignore, and that's when they'll start to panic. Every time they hear a song that reminds them of you, or walk past a place where you used to go together, it all hits them at once. The silence where your voice used to be is now unbearable. They can't fill that space with anyone else. They can try. Maybe they'll distract themselves with friends, new hobbies, or even flirt with others. But nothing compares to what you brought into their life. The emptiness keeps pulling them back to you. They'll start comparing everyone they meet to you, but they won't find anyone who fills that gap. They'll start realizing that the connection they had with you was something rare, something unique. And the hardest truth they'll have to face: you weren't just a moment in their life. You were the person who made it better. Meanwhile, you're moving forward. You're not sitting by the phone, waiting for them to realize what they've lost. You've reclaimed your power and focused on your own journey. You're no longer available to fill their emptiness. You're not their fallback option or their emotional cushion anymore, and that's why they feel the loss so deeply. It's not just the absence of your presence, but the absence of the safety net they've grown so accustomed to. So, what do you do now? Don't be tempted to reach out and fill the void for them. Let them sit with their own feelings of emptiness. This is their chance to truly understand the value you brought into their life. If you step in too soon, they may never fully appreciate your worth. Stay grounded and remind yourself, I am whole without them. You are enough on your own, and their emptiness is not yours to carry. If you're ready to embrace your strength and stop allowing anyone to fill that void, drop a comment below with the words, I am whole without them. This is your declaration that you don't need their attention or validation to feel complete. You've already stepped into your own power, and their absence only highlights how strong you are. 3. An overwhelming curiosity. After they've felt the sting of rejection and the aching emptiness of your absence, the next feeling that grips them like a vice is an overwhelming curiosity. At first, they might try to brush it off, telling themselves that they don't care where you've gone or what you're doing, but deep down, something begins to gnaw at them. The more they try to ignore it, the stronger it becomes. Their mind starts spiraling with questions. Why did you pull away? Where have you gone? Who are you spending your time with? It's a storm of curiosity they can't escape. They can't stop thinking about you. They begin obsessing over the smallest details. Is there someone new in your life? Did you find someone better? With every passing hour, their curiosity intensifies. They start to imagine what you're doing, wondering how you could just vanish so easily without any explanation. Their thoughts race with endless possibilities, and they can't seem to shake it. You're no longer just a person in their life. You're now a mystery, an enigma that needs solving. In the case of someone new, this curiosity is rooted in confusion and a deep sense of insecurity. You were once the one who chased after them, eager to connect and show interest. Now, you're nowhere to be found. Your sudden silence, your sudden disappearance, it drives them wild. They can't figure out why you've stopped, and it haunts them. Were they not enough? Did they lose their hold on you? The absence of your attention becomes a puzzle they desperately need to solve. Every time they pick up their phone and see there's no message from you, it feels like a little stab. They wonder if you've found someone else, or if you're simply moving on without them. The unanswered questions consume them. Each day that passes only fuels the fire of their curiosity. For someone from your past, the curiosity is even more intense. They used to know everything about you. They were so comfortable in your routine, in your world. They knew what made you laugh, what time you'd wake up, what you did on the weekends. But now, you're a ghost, and they're left in the dark. The absence of this knowledge is unbearable for them. They wonder, who's taking your time now? Who's making you smile? Did you finally close the door and leave them behind for good? This curiosity doesn't come and go. It haunts them constantly. It follows them through their day, creeping into their thoughts. Every time they wake up and don't see a text from you, they feel that familiar stir of confusion. As they scroll through their social media feeds, the silence from you becomes a haunting reminder of what they're missing. The longer they go without hearing from you, the stronger the pull becomes to know what's going on with you. And let's be honest, they won't be able to resist. They'll start looking for clues, checking your social media posts, trying to piece together the puzzle through mutual friends, or even digging into old conversations. But no matter how much they search, they'll never find the answers they want. Because you've stopped playing their game. You've closed off access to your life, and that only makes them want to figure you out more. The mystery of your disappearance is like a magnetic force they can't ignore. Meanwhile, you're living your life, thriving, focusing on yourself, and basking in the freedom that comes with reclaiming your power. The more distant you become, the more mysterious you become, and that drives them crazy. You've moved on, and they're left spinning in uncertainty, drowning in curiosity about who you are now. Here's the affirmation to ground you during this time. I am the mystery they can't solve. Write it in the comments below to seal it. You are no longer an open book they can flip through at their convenience. You've transformed into the puzzle they can't crack. And trust me, they won't be able to resist trying to figure you out. 4. Deep self-reflection. After the storm of curiosity begins to settle, the next phase that hits them like a ton of bricks is deep self-reflection. Your absence from their life forces them to confront something they've been avoiding, themselves. At first, they might have dismissed the silence, thinking it was no big deal. But as days stretch into weeks and the emptiness lingers, they can no longer escape the nagging questions echoing in their mind. What did I do wrong? Did I push them away? Why didn't I notice what I had before it was gone? And that's when the introspection hits them hard. They start replaying every conversation, every gesture, every moment where they failed to give you the attention you deserved. The harsh reality begins to sink in. They were the ones who let you slip away. For someone new, this reflection can be brutal. They might not have fully grasped how much you were offering, how much you were trying to connect, until now. Now, with you gone, they're left in the painful realization that they may have missed their chance. Was I too distant? Too nonchalant? The regret is almost suffocating as they wonder if they ignored someone truly special. For someone from your past, the self-reflection cuts deeper, sharper. They start to see all the little ways they took you for granted, the moments they brushed off your efforts, the times they didn't show up for you when you needed them the most. It all floods back, and it's impossible to ignore. Every good memory now feels like a reminder of their own neglect. They start asking themselves why they let things go stale, why they didn't fight harder to keep the spark alive. But here's the twist. It's not just about losing you. It's about realizing who they've become in the process. They now have to face the uncomfortable truth that their actions, or inactions, pushed you away. They can no longer point the finger at you for leaving because the blame falls squarely on their shoulders. The very things they ignored, the things they failed to do, are what led to this moment of loss. What you're doing during this time is living your life. You're moving forward, focusing on your growth, and refusing to slip back into the unhealthy patterns that once kept you tied to their indecision. Their self-reflection is their responsibility, not yours. You've already reclaimed your power by walking away, and now it's their turn to grow. Whether they choose to take accountability or not is up to them, but it won't change the fact that they pushed you to this point. Here's an affirmation to anchor you through this phase. I reflect, but I don't regret. Go ahead and drop it in the comments below. It's a reminder that while they may be lost in their regrets, you are focused on your journey of self-growth. You've leveled up. While they're stuck reflecting on what went wrong, you're evolving into a stronger, more powerful version of yourself. 5. The urge to pursue you. After they've been through the storm of self-reflection, something intense and undeniable starts to happen within them. The urge to pursue you. And this is when the real shift takes place. The person who once held all the power, the one who believed they were fine without you, is now consumed with a growing need to reclaim what they lost. The tables have officially turned, and their sense of control has vanished. This isn't just a passing thought. They are suddenly overwhelmed with the desire to get you back, to bridge the gap, to fix what they broke. In the beginning, they convinced themselves that they didn't need you, that life would go on without your presence. But now, after rejection, loss, and deep reflection, that illusion has shattered. They start to realize the magnitude of what they've lost and the depth of the connection you provided. The absence of your energy, the void where you once were, ignites an insatiable urge to chase after you. The desire to reach out, to make amends, to reignite the bond that once existed becomes a powerful driving force. If you're trying to attract someone new, this is the moment they finally come to grips with the fact that they may have overlooked something incredible. They start thinking back to the way you always showed up, consistent, invested, and present. Now, with you gone, they feel the sting of that absence, and the pull to pull you back into their life intensifies. They'll begin testing the waters, maybe liking your posts, sending a casual message to gauge your response, or inquiring through mutual friends about what you're up to. Each move is calculated, trying to get a glimpse of the person they've now realized they can't live without. For someone from your past, the urge to pursue you is even more intense. They'll replay all the moments when you put in the effort, the attempts to reignite the spark, the late-night talks, the little things you did to keep the connection alive. Now, with you no longer there, they see everything in stark clarity. They want that back. They want you back. The need to win you over becomes their primary focus, and they'll go out of their way to prove they've changed, that they're ready to make things right. The irony of it all, you were the one who stepped away, and now they're the ones scrambling to get back into your life. The roles have completely reversed. The certainty they once had that you'd always be there waiting for them is replaced by uncertainty and desperation. They've gone from taking you for granted to desperately chasing after your attention, and it's that sense of loss that fuels their desire to make amends. Here's where the power lies with you. You've already made the decision to step back, and now you have the luxury of deciding whether their pursuit is worth your time. This isn't about playing games or testing them. It's about standing firm in your worth. You no longer need to chase anyone to feel valued. If they come back, it's on your terms, not theirs. As they scramble to win you back, remind yourself of this. You are the prize, not the option they only value when you're gone. They're finally seeing the truth of what you've known all along. You're worth pursuing, and they're the ones who need to prove they deserve a place in your life. Here's an affirmation to keep you grounded at this point. I attract, I don't chase. Write it down in the comments. Let it sink in. You've shifted the dynamic, and now they're the ones who are chasing after you. But remember, you hold the power. Whether they return or not, That decision is entirely up to you. 6. The battle between relief and regret. As they grapple with the growing urge to pursue you, an intense inner conflict begins to unfold within them, an emotional tug-of-war between two opposing forces, relief and regret. In the beginning, when you stepped out of their life, they may have experienced a brief sense of relief. It might have felt like a weight lifted off their shoulders, a momentary taste of freedom. They may have told themselves, "This is what I needed." Some space, some time to breathe. They might have even convinced themselves that your absence was for the best, that it gave them the chance to find someone else or regain their independence. But that initial relief is fleeting, and the cracks soon start to show. What once felt like freedom begins to transform into a gnawing emptiness. Slowly, regret creeps in, quietly at first, with subtle thoughts like, "Did I really appreciate them? Or maybe I should have fought harder." As time wears on, these small thoughts accumulate and expand, until regret completely overtakes the initial sense of relief. The realization hits them hard. They let something special slip through their fingers. For someone new, this regret feels like an opportunity lost. They might have basked in the absence, enjoying the break from your attention and the freedom they thought they wanted. But now, as the space between you grows, they find themselves asking, "What could have been if I had given them a real chance?" The absence of you becomes an undeniable reminder of their missed opportunity. Now they regret not investing in the connection when they had the chance. In the case of an old relationship, the regret runs far deeper. At first, they may have felt relieved when you pulled away, believing that a bit of distance would allow them to move on. But as days pass, the emptiness begins to settle in. The memories flood back, and they start to realize just how much they took for granted. The small gestures, the shared laughter, the comfort of your presence. They see it all in stark clarity now. What they once thought was freedom is now revealed as the loss of something irreplaceable. The weight of their regret begins to sink in, and suddenly the relief they once felt is replaced with the crushing weight of realizing they let someone who truly cared slip away. This battle between relief and regret isn't just a passing emotional struggle. It's a wake-up call, a realization that what they thought was freedom was actually the absence of something meaningful and irreplaceable. Now they're left to face the bitter truth that they didn't appreciate what they had until it was gone. In this moment, remind yourself of your worth. The relief they felt was just an illusion, a temporary escape from the reality of losing you. Now, as they sit with their regret, let it fuel your strength. You are more than enough, and you were never meant to be a temporary fix to someone else's emotional turbulence. Here's an affirmation to keep you grounded. I am more than enough. Write it in the comments to remind yourself that you are a treasure, not a choice they should have taken for granted. Let their regret remind you of your worth, and carry that strength with you moving forward. 7. The desire to play the game. As the weight of regret settles in, something darker and more desperate stirs within them, the undeniable urge to play the game. This is their last-ditch attempt to regain some control, to flip the script, and to test the waters to see if they can manipulate the situation to bring you back without ever admitting their faults. Instead of confronting the truth of their actions, they try to outsmart the situation, hoping that a calculated move will draw you back into their web. But here's the harsh truth. They've already lost the upper hand. The moment you stepped away, you shifted the balance of power. They may try to mimic your detachment, hoping that by mirroring your behavior, they'll spark a response from you. It's a classic manipulation tactic, acting indifferent, as if they don't care, all while secretly hoping you'll be the one to chase after them. They might even flaunt their new life on social media, posting pictures of themselves surrounded by friends. showing off an exciting life they claim is full of joy and adventure, without you. Maybe they'll flirt with others right in front of you, trying to make you jealous. It's all part of the game, a desperate ploy to make you feel something again. But here's where it all falls apart. You're no longer playing. You've reclaimed your power, your sense of self, and the best part is, you've already checked out of this emotional chess match. Their need to play the game only reveals their insecurity and desperation. They're hoping you'll take the bait, but they don't realize that you're no longer the player. They are. What they're doing is transparent, and you see it for what it is. A last-ditch effort to regain the control they once had over you. For someone new, this game feels like an emotional challenge. They'll act like they don't care about your absence, all the while hoping you'll be the one to break the silence and reach out first. But with every day that passes without a word from you, their frustration grows. The cracks in their confidence are becoming impossible to hide, and they're slowly realizing that their little game is losing its power. In the case of an old relationship, the stakes get even higher. They might shift between cold detachment and overwhelming attention, trying to play the hot and cold card to see if you'll bite. But not this time. You're no longer swayed by the emotional manipulation. You're no longer seeking their approval or validation. The moment they start playing games, you're already 2 steps ahead. You see the pattern, and you've outgrown it. The need for their games no longer affects you. So, here's an affirmation to keep you grounded during this time. I no longer play games. Write it in the comments and let it be a reminder of the power you now hold. Let them try to manipulate, play, or chase. You've already won by stepping out of the game entirely. You've taken your power back, and nothing they do will make you falter. 8. The crushing weight of silence. After the games, the tricks, and the empty attempts to reclaim control, they are left with something far more powerful than they expected: the crushing weight of silence. Silence, after all, can speak louder than words, and your absence is deafening. What they once thought they could easily tolerate, your absence, your quiet, has now turned into a suffocating force. At first, they thought they could handle it. They convinced themselves they could simply wait you out. But now, every second without your presence is like a countdown they can't escape. There's no more back and forth, no more distractions, just a deafening quiet. And it's eating them alive. They start to feel the weight of the void you left behind. Every missed text, every silent moment without your voice or presence is a stark reminder of what they've lost. It's not just the absence of your words, it's the haunting emptiness of the connection you once shared. Each day without a word from you feels like 1,000 years, and the silence becomes louder, more unbearable with every passing moment. For someone new, this silence is a sharp, biting truth. They're used to you being the one who made things happen, the one who reached out, who moved the relationship forward. But now that you've completely pulled away, they're left to face their own indecisiveness, their own missed chances. The silence holds up a mirror, reflecting their own shortcomings. They can't escape it. It's all they have left. The absence of your voice becomes the loudest noise in the room. Crawling back. After enduring the suffocating silence, something shifts within them. A deep, overwhelming fear that takes root. It's the fear that you've moved on, that you've found someone else, or worse, that they've lost you forever. This fear hits them harder than any regret, any game they've tried to play. It's no longer about their ego, their pride, or their need for control. It's about survival. The fear of living without you, of realizing you might never come back, consumes them. And this is the fear that will inevitably bring them crawling back into your life. They can't stand the thought of you slipping away, and the idea that they've missed their chance to make things right hits them like a tidal wave. Their thoughts are overtaken by one devastating question: have I lost them for good? The fear that someone else has replaced them, that you found happiness without them, starts to spiral out of control, fueling their anxiety and regret. It gnaws at them day and night. The thought of a life without you becomes unbearable. For someone new, this fear is born from the realization that they misjudged you. They thought you'd always be available, always there to come back to when they were ready, but now they're painfully aware of your silence, and that silence has become a loud reminder that you're no longer waiting for them. The thought of someone else taking your attention, of losing the connection they never truly valued, drives them to desperation. Suddenly they're reaching out, sending texts, and even showing up unannounced, doing whatever it takes to get your attention, because the fear of losing you is unbearable. In an old relationship, the fear runs even deeper. They thought they knew you, that they could always count on your presence. But now, faced with your absence, they are paralyzed. They realize that every time they pushed you away, every time they took you for granted, it only brought them closer to this moment, the moment where you're no longer in their life. And that thought terrifies them more than anything. They'll try anything to regain your trust, to pull you back into their life. They'll swallow their pride, humble themselves, and do what it takes, even if it means coming to you with an apology they never thought they'd make. But here's the game changer. When they come crawling back, it's on your terms. You're no longer the one begging for attention or validation. You've reclaimed your power. Now they're the ones chasing you, desperate to earn a place back in your life. This is where the dynamic completely shifts, and they finally understand just how valuable you are. Here's an affirmation to keep you grounded. I am worth the chase. Write it in the comments to remind yourself of your worth. Let their fear be the spark that ignites your power. They're crawling back because they now see what they lost. And now, the decision is yours. Do they deserve another chance, or have they proven they can't keep up with the new you? Closing message. If this message spoke to you, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with anyone who needs a reminder of their own strength. The real power lies in your ability to step away and make them feel the weight of your absence. Drop a keep it up in the comments if you're ready to stand your ground and let them finally realize what they lost. Always remember, you are the prize. Never forget your worth. Stay strong, stay confident, and let them chase you if they truly want to be a part of your world. Until next time, keep shining and stay empowered.